Welcome, everybody, to the All Hands Podcast. I'm here with Jose, CEO of Glendale, and my name is Adam Jeup. I was the CEO of the Drill Dojo before it was purchased by Glendale Parade Store.
What a world. It's good to be here. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, this is cool. So this is the first podcast that we're doing here. Very excited to be here. We're going to talk about the story real quick about Glendale Parade Store and Drill Dojo, right? We both kind of approached business from different backgrounds, and
Yes, we
the way things kind of collided is such an interesting story.
And it's fascinating also to see how much synergy comes
Mhm.
from both companies, how much we've grown between them. But I would love just to hear one, how did you get started? So let's start first with the drill dojo side of the fence. How did you get started? How did the idea come about? And then like let's leave it at the point where we're sitting at the table having a conversation about the merger. So just
Okay.
walk the dog at the beginning all the way until the end.
Yeah. So I think this is so I'm 35 years old. I've been in the drill community since I was 14. So 2005, January 2005 was my first spin ever. It was the Air Force JRTC unit out of Rico, Florida. It's no-name school, Bloomingdale High School. They're like restarting their drill team because it like went to the wayside, right? So it's like a no-name school, not a powerhouse whatsoever. And I liked it a bunch, right? And when I graduated in 2008, I thought that was it. I thought that was the end of my drill career. I hung up the rifle, went off to college,
Only
University of
you
South
knew.
Florida. Yeah, right. And only I knew. That was when so my friend Matt Perot, he was like, hey, because we were competitors in like the solo circuit around Florida.
Was he in the same school?
No, he was in Vero Beach High School, which is like across the state.
Okay.
So we would only see each other at competitions. And back then, because like it was like no cell phones or whatever, so like no one would videotape anything, right? So instead of like, you were just kind of like set free. And so all the soloists would end up finding each other and like make a little show off circle.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you would know all your soloists through that. You would just go into the show off circle. And solo was not a big category of drill at all. But he was like, hey, there's a World Drill Championships. You should sign up for it. And
And SNI already existed?
SNI, oh yeah, SNI has been around since like the 80s. Yeah. So Samantha runs SNI. Her mom started the company and passed it around to her, right? So yeah, and I was going to the all service nationals and challenge level side of things, we're like the lower side of things,
Sure.
all through high school. So I was already familiar with the venue, already familiar. But World Drill Championships only started in like 2007. And so this is now 2009, right?
So it's brand new, like
Yeah.
infancy.
Absolutely. And it was only happening during master's level, so I never overlapped with it.
And how did you guys figure out the names for because there was no internet, no nothing. So like, I don't know, a rising sun. Everybody would call it different. And how did you even practice it?
Yeah, so man, that's a great question. So what's really fun is there's this like really small pocket of time where the internet existed, but YouTube kind of didn't, right?
Yeah.
And so people who had like a video camera and editing skills could still do it. It was just a little weird because there was like digital cameras were like brand new. There was one guy, this guy actually ended up like sponsoring early World Drill Championships, because back then it was called ISIS World Drill Championships until ISIS took on a different meaning in the political landscape,
Sure.
right? And he was with the Black Watch Drill Team, and he posted a bunch of videos. So working closely with SNI, posted a bunch of videos on his like the blackwatchdrillteam.com. And we all just kind of found it because Google existed as well. So you had to search for like what you're looking for. So all these drillers who are my age have this like pocket memory of just like 4 videos that are like legendary, like, and they had tricks you just never saw before. When it came to names, usually, so you know what I was talking about, the solo circles, right? I mean, there were regional names for everything, but you typically like they would spread that way. So someone would show you a trick, you'd be like, "What is that called?" And they'd be like, "It's the Mark because we had a guy named Mark who invented it, right?" And it's just like a rising sun, right?
It's awesome.
Yeah. So there's regional. I mean, if you ask 100 different schools what a butterfly is, there's not a single trick named a butterfly in the drill dojo. But if you ask 100 schools what a butterfly is, they'll all tell you a different butterfly.
That is so wild.
Yeah.
And I bet you were just trying it out and just hitting yourself on the head with Rivals.
Yeah, you could already see like where some of these problems start stacking, right? Um, and so without this kind of wider community, without this sort of standardization, when I was like big fish in a small pond, right?
Mm.
And then I went to the World Duel Championships that first time. I met the wider community. I met, all the big names for the first time, right? And what I loved about it is they all like taught me a little bit of something, right? And it was stuff that like, I mean, we're talking people from Illinois, people from Texas, people from New York, people from California, all coming together and bringing like their regional knowledge with them as well. Hawaii, right? Um, so it's this really cool melting pot of ideas. And I went in being like, I think I can win this. And I got
That's
second to
awesome.
last place. I was
Hey,
last place dropped and I didn't. Like literally had the worst routine out there. You know what I mean? Like it was a gut punch. It was very much like a really big ego check.
was it because you dropped and it was the nervousness? Was it you just didn't know how a routine worked
It
and
was
just
I just wasn't good.
hey?
Yeah, I just wasn't good. There's like tons I didn't know. This was before we had the DI 1903, so it was
Mm.
just Glendale M1s and then Daisies.
Oh,
And I was using the Glendale M1 because my school was Air Force. Air Force used to have the M1s, right? So, you can actually look up Adam Jeup 2009 and find my first routine
you should.
using a Glendale M1, which it was great. It was great for my needs at the time. Um, and, it was the first time I ever saw 1903 was at the World Duel Championships. So, epitome of just like, I thought I was good, but it's only because I was in a small pond,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and that's where I met like the wider community, right? They got me integrated with the forums. They got me integrated with like a connection,
Sure.
right?
And they taught you. They started telling you like do this or figure this out, and then that's
Yeah. And I went
half
to
the
them and I'm like, look at my butterfly. And they're like, that's a tier end spin. That's a this, that's a that, right? So you see all these problems are
sure.
stacking, right? Um, and I think like that's a personality type of mine is like when problems are stacking, like I go out and address it, right?
Yeah.
So between 2009, after like meeting all these people and learning everything, and 2010, I kind of started generating the idea of what would become the Drill Dojo, right? Um,
And who was the most influential person that like helped you guide through that one? And then two, did you have like technical knowledge? Were you inclined to computers and like technology, or how was Adam Jupe in 2009?
yeah. So generally good student, so it was easy for me to adapt to things. But I was a big like I know how to Google things, right? Like the number one way to solve problems is just to like search for an answer, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't have a whole lot of technical knowledge going into it, and there's no like one. I don't have like one mentor. Like I really do consider like the whole drill community at the time to be my mentor. And that's because there was no like lineage, right? We people would develop independently and just get better independently. And people from Florida and Georgia and Texas and New York, they all had different styles of drill. And so if you go back and watch the videos of that era, you'll see that there's a lot more like deviation of like style.
Like power drill versus flow drill versus which now kind of blends a little bit. There's still a differentiation, but it was more marked back then.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a lot of deviation. And we'll kind of get into kind of like what I'm a yeah. Every time I solved the problem, I also created a problem, which has been such an awesome journey too.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so it was around 2009, 2010. We got really integrated in a forum called the Drillers Consortium.
All right.
Okay. So this was an evolution of what was called the Drill Jungle, which S and I used to run until it was taken over by inappropriate bots. Okay.
Mhm.
So they shut it down. They're like, that's a liability. And so the community opened up a new thing called the Drillers Consortium. And this was actually, I was an active member. I was contributing a bunch, and eventually, like, I was leading the Drillers Consortium. This is actually my first interaction with Glendale Parade Store. So this was
No
Marilyn
way.
was the owner
Yeah.
at the time, right? So pre-Joe. So um, we were looking to add some functionality. So traditional forum, right? So like the old school forums. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Like the old chat rooms type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And it was just like big topic and then little
Yeah.
topic and then threads, right? If you ever search for like my computer's messed up, that's the forums you're on it, right? So it was one of that, but for drill. And we needed a budget in order to add a couple of forum features, and also we wanted like rubber wristbands for all the members at
Okay.
Daytona Nationals, so we could tell at a glance like who was part of the community. And so I reached out to Marilyn and I was like, "Hey, we'd like $500. We want to put marketing up on our forum," and she was totally about it, over the moons. We got the $500. We got shirts with it. We got like wristbands with it. We upgraded our forum with it. It was awesome. We put Glendale over everything. So that was really really cool. Um, so yeah, Jewelers Consortium ran for a few years, and then it kind of got like lost in the. We were doing a big upgrade, and it was just proving to be too technical for, us 20 somethings, and it just kind of like fell off the grid. But
And you were going to college too.
I was going to college too. Yeah, so I was undergrad psychology, USF, University of South Florida. Um, while So all these problems were stacking about the community, and I was like, you know what, I can solve these problems. And I had it was called a flip camera. I mean, I remember 240p. You would press a button and a USB would slide out at the top.
That's awesome, though.
You could find videos filmed on that guy, like still, if you go like to my channel
Yeah.
on Drill Dojo and you sort by like upload date, like the early upload dates, that's like a flip camera. Like,
That's so funny.
yeah, so I was just in my backyard, and that was the beginning of like cataloging tricks, right? And the beginning of like, all right, well, I was doing Rising Suns wrong for like 4 years, and someone was like, no, just don't wrap it around. They corrected me, right? So I was like, well, if people don't make this journey to Daytona and get last place, they'll never get this information,
Sure.
Um, and so that thus born what was called independent drill.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the precursor. I will say my mom was a software developer, not
Mhm.
software developer, but she was like a web designer. I would say web design is pretty close.
So you had the technical.
So I knew how to build a website. So the original website was built like raw HTML, like
Wow.
open, yeah, HTML, close, TDs, TRs, yeah, oh yeah, like the old code.
No wigs, no nothing.
No,
Just
yeah,
coding.
it was straight coding.
Wow.
And I was able to, upload to YouTube because YouTube finally existed, link it all to the website. I ran
Or cat videos. I remember YouTube was all cat videos.
little cat videos.
And Adam Jeup doing spinning.
Right. Yeah. So, and that was where I kind of got a lot of control over what things ended up being named, to so much drama, as I.
Why the Mad got angry because
That
Hey,
got
that-
butterfly.
trick. I developed the Mad and now he's calling it something else.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
It was
that is-
awesome.
I bet. And especially US 2021 having to deal with a lot of hate, anger, or stuff from different parts of the United States. How would they reach out to you?
They would be polite. They would just be like, "That's not what that trick is called," and it's like, this is the third email I've gotten this week on it with 3 different answers. So like, I know we all have a different port spin. I just have to make an executive decision here. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
And if I encourage, like, I kind of wanted to, for a long time, I was thinking about putting like, regional names on like trick names, like kind of at the bottom, just as like an homage.
So everybody could figure out. Do you still recall a lot of the names?
I don't, because I don't even think I called 2-hand spins. Like, I had a different name for them. You know what I mean? It's just like,
wild.
Yeah, there's some stuff I had to invent terminology for, like C-set's one, where it stands for counterclockwise setup. It didn't exist, but everyone was doing this same reverse spin into this same catch and that set up like 1,000 different tricks. And I was like, that's a very specific setup that needs a name.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
what a good vision to understand. Hey, we need to name this and put a normal terminology.
Yeah,
to try to help out, because if not, you'll go nuts.
yeah, and we did.
Yeah, I bet. And then how did you learn the tricks? Because I'm assuming, like, okay, you see it, but there's nothing to really walk the dog on how to actually perform it. So how did you go about, and was there a particular trick that really cost you a ton of heartache to try to master?
No. So I took a pretty strong affinity toward like learning tricks early on. So I would say like it's not. I don't know. I have a philosophy that nothing is hard. Everything just takes time.
There you go.
Right. So I think if you ask the average person, is calculus hard? They're going to be like, absolutely, it's so difficult, right? But if you ask someone who's like deep into math, is calc 2 hard? They're going to be like, no, it's super easy. It's straightforward, right?
It's a great mentality.
Yeah. And so if you approach things as like, this isn't hard, I just haven't put in, it's going to take me 10 hours to learn this. I just haven't put in my 10 hours, right? And do you know yourself? You can take a reasonable guess as to how long it'll take you. And then it just becomes like, well, I'm going to throw dedicated time at it, and that's going to like chunk down the time,
Sure.
right? And so nothing is hard.
And continuous progress. So you do it once, it works, then you try it again, and that's awesome. That's a great mentality in life.
Yeah, it's treating me really well. It allows me to approach difficult things and not get frustrated and not getting it because it's
So you got that you could manage all those items. I'm assuming based of setting the basic line, new tricks started coming about. How would you record those new tricks as they started publishing? Did people send you stuff once it became famous? Or you just saw it and you documented it?
yeah, more or less. Because I kept learning tricks.
Sure.
And I kept cataloging it was the best. I think everyone should catalog what tricks that they have too, because I didn't want to post it online if it wasn't good. So I would go out and grind it and grind it and grind it, and then like over the course of 3 days, if I didn't learn a trick, I would get the trick and I'd get a good take of it, right? Um, and so it just became this process of like cleaning it up and cleaning it up, and that's definitely I think what contributed to like me becoming a lot better as a driller was literally just like I won't post this unless it's good, right? And then I kind of like grew from there. But there's definitely stuff that was out of my depth, and it just took me like longer to get around to filming it, right? So I think a lot of people think of like the top 0.1% of people who are throwing, septuples into flying Floridians into giant, do 540s iconics, and it's like um the other 99.9% of people are just benefiting from learning how to port spin and single spin and doubles
100%.
and triples, right? So I never felt like pressure to like fill in those gaps because it's like I'd rather serve the 1,000 people who need it than like the 2 who are like struggling over here, and I'll get to the 2 over here. Like I'm not going to leave them on the table either. So it's just a matter of like the priorities, and I felt pretty comfy at the lower end of the um skill gap, kind of filling in those gaps first.
But what a good mentality in life to say, like, okay, we're gonna do it. You eat a well, a bite at a time, and you just go slow, start making progress, start doing the right things. That's awesome. That's a
Yeah.
great point. So let's go back. So you're 20. So now it's 2020. 2010,
To
give or
like
take.
young tennis, yeah.
2010. And so you have the independent drill community.
hmm
And so what is the next step?
Um, so it just kind of builds in. I started working with Glendale first time, right after graduating in 2012.
No way. So you
Yes.
graduated from psychology.
Mm-hmm.
You had this as a side gig, so to speak, and
Yeah.
it's your hobby.
Hobby.
Yeah, you're trying it. But Glenda was in New Jersey. You were in Florida.
Yes.
So how did that work?
Joe, as the visionary Joe was, invented remote working.
There you go.
Yeah, we got a laptop, and he has set me up in Florida, and he said, "No, we're gonna throw you some work from time to time, and do your thing, help us out." You kind of the same deal, but I've just gotten better over the years, right?
Very cool.
So, I would do a lot of, continue with make the videos. If you go back to like mid-range videos from that era, they're all like blasted with like Glendale stuff. That DVD that's like drill
Yeah.
anything. I filmed that.
That's
I made
awesome.
1,000 mistakes in it. I wish I could go back and do that again with what I know now.
We still have the DVDs.
Yeah, go buy a DVD. Go see all my mistakes. Yeah, and I think what made me useful wasn't necessarily my drill stuff, but like I dabble. I mean, you see, I dabble in like 1,000 different things: video editing, photography, like whatever. Um, and so Joe would like throw random tasks like here's a brochure from lacrosse. You know that fold out brochure and it's got the rifle in the middle?
Yeah.
It was based off of lacrosse fold out.
That's so pretty.
Yeah, and he just said, "Hey, can you copy this?" And so I learned how to make brochures through like Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, and
That's
send it
amazing.
start to finish to a printer. It was cool.
And this was 2012.
This was 2012 to 2015.
So Joe, so the story of Glendale, just let me stop here and we'll tie it up to how Joe, because this is when Joe bought Glendale.
Yes.
So Glendale has been around since 1947. And it was called, it wasn't called Glendale Parade Store. It was called Catalog Order Store. And it was just random catalog.
So generic.
Super generic, random catalog. And so from the best that I have gotten is the same. I know it's been since 47 because it's still the same tax ID.
Yeah.
So it's always been the same tax ID, which dates all the way in New Jersey to 1947. What they sold there? Probably paper and stuff to the United States government. I'm assuming like office items. The company got sold, and then Wendy acquired the company somewhere around 1998, 1999.
Okay.
And she used to work at the New York New York Times as an editor. Very random. But Wendy's husband used to be linked and somehow to some military or honor guard or color guard.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so she through her husband or through her connections started going to a lot of the events and saying like, you know what, we need bib scarves, and there's no bib scarf extender, there's no fleece gloves, and there's no different items. And so Wendy, in her vision, started getting a lot of these items, and it's all based out of catalog. So they used to send catalogs throughout the entire United States. Internet didn't exist.
Right.
So it was the only way to acquire that very unique parade items. Eventually, the company shifted, and I think that the shift happened somewhere in the 2000s from catalog service store to Glendale Parade Store. Why Glendale? No idea. It should be parade.
Yeah.
There's always a Glendale in every state.
Right.
Like Glendale, California.
See, Rhodes named it. Like,
There's always a Glendale. So probably there was a Glendale in New Jersey, or Wendy knew somebody from Glendale, or I just don't know. But anywho, it became Glendale Parade Store. And Wendy had grown quite a bit, the business. Joe acquired the business from Wendy as she retired in 2012. So when you're coming in, Joe is buying the company in New Jersey. Joe was not a military member.
yeah.
He had no idea about drill or ceremony.
Yeah.
So you came in probably to really advise him and help him out on what it was about drilling, JROTC, military. And I know for a fact that you're a veteran. So when did you join the Coast Guard?
Yeah. So that is specifically why. So I remember sitting down with Joe at Daytona Nationals 2012. It's May. I'm about to graduate. And he's like, well, what are you going to do next? And I was like, I'm either going to the United States Coast Guard or I'd like to work for you in Glendale Parade Store. And Joe said, well, there's no position open for you.
Ooh.
Yes. So I was like, great, no problem. I'm going to go enjoy my last summer. And then at the end of the summer, I'm going to sign up for the United States Coast Guard. Well, during that time, Joe didn't even tell me. He went and sat down with his investors, like his group of people to make decisions. They moved storage spaces, and they saved enough money that he called me up a week before I was planning to go talk to the Coast Guard and start that conversation. Literally a week. Like, that's a real time frame. And he said, we've got a job for you if you'd like to accept it. And that thus I became a Glendale Parade Store employee to help Joe kind of navigate the space a little bit. And like we actually, man, I wish I kept all the prototype pieces. So the DA 1903, like A model, like I was part of the process of like testing it.
That is wild because right now we're not at the J, we're like at the K model.
Yeah, it's like deep. So yeah, re-A model, like I was involved in that process.
That is wild.
Yeah. Um, so I worked with Joe in Glendale Parade Store from 2012 to 2015,
Okay.
right? During that time, I was like doing training camps and starting to like, the independent drill was taking off, making more progress there. Um, and in particular, I was working with the Royal Hawaiian Guard out in Hawaii. And so my friend Paula Fleafini, I remember he called me. I was like visiting my dad. He called me. I'm just pacing around the room while this complete stranger is like, I'd like to fly you out to Hawaii. You want to teach a drill camp and get a free trip to Hawaii? And me being like, yeah, I've only ever been to Colorado. Of course I would love to go. So for 3 years, I flew out to Maui. It's just a beautiful, beautiful island, right? I became enamored with it. At the same time, I'm dating the girl who would become my wife, and I was like, well, let's just move to Hawaii. So, saved money, moved out, and that was why I left Glendale in 2015. Was I moved to Hawaii?
That is insane.
Yeah,
That's amazing. What a great way to create a company to just move to Hawaii.
yeah,
And so you moved to Hawaii. So you put the Coast Guard on pause. You moved to Hawaii
yeah.
2015, and right now you have Independent Drill. Drill Dojo hasn't really formed yet. Still called Independent Drill.
Still called independent drill.
You're getting a ton of experience with all the items that you help with Joe, with the rifle, visiting and doing training camps.
Yeah.
So now you're in Hawaii.
Yes. And I do a little bit of work with the Royal Hawaiian Guard. I do a tomb stand at the Queen's tomb. I go to the services and stand guard. We did a couple ceremonies and everything, and then ran out of money.
Tends to happen in Hawaii.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Hawaii is very expensive.
Yeah. And so it was only like a 6-month in and out, but like at the end of the 6 months, we were totally out. We couldn't get routes fast enough. So, we moved back. And it was like that perfect gap of like, all right, like it's time. I need to do some military service. Like if it was definitely like that weight on my shoulders of like, if I don't take the chance and go see what it's like I know I'll be 40, 50, 60 years old and be like, oh man, I wish I had done that.
Sure.
So I signed for 4 years in the Coast Guard.
And why the Coast Guard?
So I came from an Air Force JRTC unit. Yep. And so I knew it was going to be either Air Force or Coast Guard. And Coast Guard was just kind of always on the radar, smaller branch, more responsibilities, but like also staying kind of like in the United States a little bit. And the decision really came down to like, what style of mission do I want to support?
Sure.
And the Coast Guard style of mission is straight up like, we're going to go and we're going to save people and we're going to put out navigation buoys and we're just going to help people, help people, help people. And that was like straight up what the mission is. It's nothing but trying to help people. And I was like, well, I'd like nothing but trying to help people.
That's amazing.
So that was like what threw me in that direction. I want to maximize my chances to help people.
And basic training is in the Northeast.
It's in New Jersey. So
you're right next to Glendale.
Yeah, Cape May. By then, Joe moved the company over to San Antonio or whatever. But yeah, back to New Jersey, Cape May. There was a good boot camp too, with that from October to Thanksgiving, essentially.
And so while you were there, did they have like a special duty that you could opt to become like a special honor guard, or how did it work? Or what was your, I know in Air Force terms, AFSC, your MOS, your career designator?
Yeah, so in the Coast Guard, everyone's a non-rate. Everyone has no job.
Really?
When they go in through boot camp and into their next duty station, and then they go on a list and then go to A school, right?
Got it.
So, so this is 2016, October 2016, I ship out the boot camp. For those drillers at home, you know what routine I threw down in 2016. It's my most famous routine. Like huge number. It was lots of tricks. Like, prior to 2016, everyone threw a quad. Maybe someone had thrown a Quinton competition, and I blew 2 past that.
Wow.
Because I was drilling with New Guard America during that time, and so that was bayoneted only. So I really conditioned myself for bayonets. And when I stripped off the bayonet, I was like, well, this is just super easy to throw. And so I threw, I introduced probably like 7 brand new tricks in like one single routine. It was totally like out of nowhere, and so that's didn't place well, but
It
absolutely
didn't place
did
well?
not place well.
Who were the
I
judges?
mean, so I was first up on the deck,
Uh-oh.
and I talked to them afterwards, and they were just like, every philosophy they have on judging is like, just put it down the middle for the first competitor, and then like you're just judging just on the first competitor. But like they weren't like fresh judges, so they knew what they were looking at. They knew they were watching like a kind of special routine. So like everyone I talked to afterwards was just like, you threw us for an absolute loop. We had no idea what to do with you. It ended up placing seventh, missing out of the finals because back then it was only top 5 finals.
Oh, no.
And honestly, thank goodness, because I hit the routine and I don't know if I had another one in me, so I'm not mad about it at all. Um, so super super awesome experience there. So anyways, I'm in boot camp and I tell them that like I have experience drilling with rifles, and boy, wouldn't you know it, they immediately
They're
Google
like,
my name, find me on YouTube, and they're like, oh, this guy thinks he's hot. Let's say he can do push-ups.
huh.
So yeah, there's a ceremonial team at boot camp. So I was part of the drill team there, and for about a week they just kind of like tortured me, not tortured, they just like extra
Huh.
push-ups, extra sit-ups, like, you think you're tough? And I'm like, I don't know, is that a yes or no? But like, which one are you
Whatever
in?
you say, you're condemned.
Yeah, right.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Absolutely. That's how they are at boot
Yeah.
camp. You don't get a right answer.
Nope.
So yeah, it was a pretty, after a week they found out that like, no, I'm not like I'm the best. I just like go out and do my stuff, right? So they made a phone call over to the ceremonial drill team, sent a recruiter down. They drove out specifically to recruit me, check out my drill.
Wow.
And from then on, I was with the Coast Guard Honor Guard for 2.5 years. Then I signed up to be a YN3, so yeoman yeoman,
Hmm.
right? And then I was a petty officer 3rd class, and I did that for 2 years.
Wow.
And I left the Coast Guard to go to get education and become a high school teacher for a little bit.
That's awesome. So
No.
to do your master's.
To do the masters. So this takes us pretty close to where the drill dojo is. So in 2018, on my way out the door of the Coast Guard Honor Guard, it's December of 2018. I partner with Andres Ryan and Naraya Girin. And we go to, so there's training videos with the black background and the white flooring. That's actually just the drill facility at the United States Coast Guard Ceremonial Honor Guard. For about a week straight, we posted up from like 9 p.m. to 3 a.m., filmed as much as we could. And then the next like 2 weeks, I was like away at boot or like the A school.
Yeah.
To go get my job. So that's where all those videos came from.
That's amazing.
And that's still under the brand of Independent Drill. So it's just this big update of like all the tricks, right? And so
And Andres and Araya were also serving.
yeah, we were all in DC at the time because we were all on ceremonial drill teams.
Very cool.
Different
and
ones.
different branches.
Different branches, yeah. So it was really, really cool. So that's where those videos came from. Plus, and that kind of answers a question before, right? So those tricks that I had to get better at, like now I was good at them and I was able to put them into a good video and make training material surrounding it, etc. On my way out of the Coast Guard, so all of this is to like, I built a solution which now Drill is standardization. Drill has names to everything. It's got all these available videos. And what people would do, believe it or not, they'd go to the coolest, biggest, hardest tricks and they'd be like, I'm going to learn that. And there was no structure for them to get there. So they would do it on the competition floor and it would look awful and they would drop.
And it's dangerous too because you're throwing a 9-pound, 9.5-pound rifle with a bayonet.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're doing, you can impale yourself.
Yeah. So if you go look from like WDC, like I would say 2015 to 2019 is like the era of drops.
Wow.
Just drops and drops and drops and people just being out of their depth, right? And so that was a problem because all this was just posted online with no structure, right? So in 2020, not only is like COVID kind of happening and it's like, well, if drill's going to continue, we need like something to kind of like keep this going and some sort of challenge or whatever. But it needs structure and we're going to address the problem with structure. So that's where the Drill Dojo came in. So that started in September of 2020. The ideation of it actually happened in, I would say, June of 2020. And that was when I was
Thick of the pandemic.
Yeah. So when I need, I needed like colored slings,
Mm-hmm.
and I would go on like my guard duty at Sector North Carolina with like a bucket of like dyed white slings. They weren't taking color, and I was like, how am I going to do this? And that
From
was
Glendale.
from I would buy tons from Glendale. Like, oh man, if you go back to like my records in 2020, you'll see that I bought like 100 slings from you for Black Friday of 2020. Yeah. And then I discovered that like, they have colored webbing and, whatever, the right material. So ended up making just colored slings, right? And I was buying Glendale slings, taking the metal parts off of it, putting it onto the colored slings and selling the
Wow.
colored slings. Yeah. Um, so yeah, that's where the Jill Dojo kind of came in, and it was nice because just a couple years ago I had filmed a beautification of all the tricks. So they were all like there and ready to go. Um, then the structure kind of developed over the course of like 2 or 3 years.
Were you prior martial arts? Like, how did you get the idea of the? Because I think the beauty of the drill dojo is that it comes very natural. Because
Yeah.
for whatever reason in our society, we have all seen martial arts,
Mm-hmm.
and like we associate, okay, the white, then comes the yellow, then comes. So you associate that with the black being the top. So how was it? Just pure luck? No art, martial arts.
Yeah, I mean, there's a blessing and a curse with like I'd never done martial arts before, which I think was a blessing and a curse because um when I made it, it was almost based off of like stereotypes of martial arts or like my best guesses of how martial arts works, which I think is really nice because that's going to be like the general consensus of people who don't do martial arts will have kind of the same ideas about what it is, right? So that's what helps it make sense,
Very cool.
Since then, I've actually been doing Tai Chi for a year and, at a Kung Fu temple to try and see like what the structure is like and how it's different. And I've guessed a lot of things kind of correctly. So that's been
Good.
nice.
Good intuition.
Yeah.
All right.
But really, it's just, it's the same, like it's a curriculum. So it's just move and advance and grow.
And it's great because I think it gives the foundations, and like the white link is a 15 step,
Yeah,
right? A
more or
15
less
count,
with two
and
swings. Yeah.
then you start adding. Now, where does the emblem of the phoenix come from?
Yeah. So,
For those that don't know, once you get certified in one of the slings, you get a little drill dojo. What is it? 1x1?
it's a 1x1.
1x1 little square, and that's a certified sling. And then Adam reviews these videos once a month, and you upload them, and you can be certified within the drill dojo. It's all free. But how did you come up with that design? Because it's a really particular design.
Yeah. So I've used that was the independent drill logo.
Got it.
And so that phoenix sort of represented like a continual like restructuring of like your drill, where you'd be torn down and then you'd build back up, and then you were wrong somewhere, so you would tear it down and build back up, right? And so I don't know, I've had that logo. It's been 15 years now. It kind of just ended up being a holdover from independent drill. Because I ordered. I mean, here I think the real story really is that I ordered the patches before I had the Drill Dojo logo set.
Wow.
And the Drill Dojo kind of emerged out of like, all right, well, if it's going to be this, then it's going to be the Drill Dojo. And then like, well, I've got the patches here. And, so I still think it still makes sense is like every time you restart a sling, you're kind of dying in a way. Like you're starting over, right? So you got to rebuild back up. So I still like it, especially because of like the drill history of it and everything. But
And so now we are 2021, give or take.
now we're 2020, 2021. Yeah. And so, uh, now it comes like, what I've invented so far is just colored slings, right? But if you notice the process of like what these colored slings entail, it's spending $10 when slings are on sale and then buying all the fabric and then selling it for like $1 profit. You know what I mean?
Really hard.
Yeah. So I reach out to Joe and I'm like, hey, Joe, is there any way I can buy just the metal parts for maybe like $3 or $5 a pop and it'll save me a bunch of money? Joe's like, I'm going to reach out to the supplier, find out. And he's like, nope, can't do it. Sorry. So I'm like, well, this is like a little unsustainable, right? Like the profit's just not there. So what can I do here? That was when I pulled the Velcro and I was like, well, I just need something like clasp it close. What if I like measure out? So, a dozen prototypes later and I had this like Velcro sling. I was like, well, does it work? So I made a bunch for my friends. And a month later, they're all like, I love it.
And the good thing about the Velcro sling, both slings are perfect because they work for different reasons,
Mm-hmm.
but the Velcro sling is also safer in
Yeah.
many ways.
Yeah, it was awesome. So the reason it worked so well, because I was giving it to like Andres and like people who were spinning
Mm.
with it, right? And they were not hitting their hands in the I think there's if you ask anyone who's like been drilling kind of professionally for like 10 years, they'll all have a story about like cutting open their hand on some of the metal bits, right?
Sure.
It was just like a part of the process. So, even Constantine Wilson of New Guard America, he had like a very specific way of winding it to make it like not a problem. He would use like cardboard slips and everything to keep the slips, like the clips secure. Um, and what this did is it did two things. One, eliminated, especially on these big tricks, there's like the bigger the trick, the wider the margin of
Sure.
error can be, like physically, right? And so it got rid of all of those points that are sharp that could cut you. And also, I mean, if you look for drill routines, if you were to watch WDC from 2020 and before, probably 3 out of every 30 competitors would have a sling clasp that would come undone mid performance. Um, and it would, maybe even if they taped down, the tape would kind of slide too, and then they have to like figure it out, right? And so
Uh,
it solved that problem too.
And for those that don't spin or that are starting to spin, just walk the dog a little bit about the importance of having a sling in the rifle for like grip and for everything, because I know it's different spinning without an actual sling than spinning with a sling.
Yeah, and it's really minute, really subtle too, right? It's something that like you'll kind of come into. But number one is going to be the grip, right? The stock isn't going to give you the same grip that like the material of the sling is, right?
Mhm.
Number two, it kind of protects you from like the metal parts at the bottom with like the trigger plate and everything. So that's gonna give you a little bit extra padding. There's a couple other like instances too. So the upper sling swivel where the sling like pulls it
Yep.
down. If that's one flopping all over the place and that like lands on your hand, that's a really painful experience. But that specific clip is really useful for like aerials. Because when you dip for your aerials, your finger goes right up against the clip when it's at its
Mm.
bottom, right? And the DA 1903 is such a like the 1903 in general, such a specific rifle that like it just feels like it was invented to be spun, and obviously it wasn't, right? But like the way it's weighted, the where things fall on it, where the balance point falls, where you have to hold things, all worked out perfectly. So the sling helps make it perfectly, and then I use no tape on my slings. So a lot
You
of
use
people
no tape?
no tape on my slings. A lot of people like the tape.
Yeah.
If you have no tape, that's a springboard. So when I dip and when I push up, like it actually like gives me a tiny little bit of extra like spring,
Sure,
and that
because
helps. That's why I throw like huge aerials, right? If it's a
yeah.
tight sling, it
Wow.
pops right out of the hand.
Hey, now you know an inside trick from Adam Jeup.
Yeah. So, yeah, not having to worry about the clip and especially that springing action, right? Like that pushes a lot of pressure on that sling clip there. Velcro solved it because the more lateral pressure on Velcro, the
The
harder it
better.
hooks in.
100%. And then the other beauty about it that you created, was it intentional that the sling colors corresponded to the intensity of the curriculum?
Yeah, that's generally, everyone knows martial arts starts at white
Mhm.
belt and ends at
Mm.
black belt. And so everything in the middle is a little bit like looser. I think yellow is almost traditionally the next, orange is almost traditionally the next. Red and maroon did not exist on the first iteration of the Drill Dojo.
Really?
Yeah, it was 6 different colors. It went from white to yellow to orange to green to blue to black.
Oof. Because red is when you actually do the first aerial.
Yes. Yeah. So I misjudged a couple of things early on about like difficulty level for people and like the psychology of like how to build a curriculum, right? So the first like white was always like port spin, single spin,
Mhm.
right? The regulation actually was added afterwards. And then it would jump to like it was like 14 tricks you had to do on like yellow sling. Yeah. And when you're approaching new concepts for the first time, that's hard. So the next thing that came was red, and I added red so that everything would balance into about 10 tricks. And what I would notice is I would go do these training camps, and I'd get a lot of people white sling certified, and then they'd kind of be content there. They'd look at the list for yellow sling, and they'd be like, all right, I'm done. All right. It was just overwhelming. And so I realized the need to kind of dial it back a little bit. So that's why yellow sling is 6 tricks, is psychologically, and it helps too because it's brand new concepts. The difference between a triple and a quad is not the same as the difference between a single and a double.
Sure.
Right? It's different concept entirely. So when you're approaching 6 brand new concepts, that's daunting but doable. But like 10 or 14 was like way too much. Yeah. And then orange sling is just an evolution of like a few of those, like 4 or 5 of those, and also 5 new concepts, right? And it kind of like follows that balance as you structure up, is like half of these are things you're approaching, but like just to the next level. Half of these are brand new concepts. And that way you make quick progress, but you also have new things to learn, and these new things will start building into the new things and the new things and the new things, right? So that's why yellow sling got moved to 6 tricks. Maroon was invented kind of shuffled up. So orange took a couple extra tricks. Red became maroon, and then like red got like a whole brand new thing. Like it was a total restructure from like maroon and under. And that was where things kind of leveled out. And then from there, it's just been like small adjustments of a trick here and a trick there.
And we're making adjustments now.
A little bit, yeah. So it's been so cool watching the community use this and actively grow, right? And so, when the curriculum was made, there was like 3 of us that could do black sling, and now there's like 30 people black sling certified, right?
And some of them are in high school, which is wild.
Absolutely. I thought it was going to take 8 years for people to go through the system, and I'm finding it takes 4 because it's structured, because now people know how to approach it, right? And so safely, right? That's the big thing. That's where them recording the videos and sending them to me and I check them comes in. And the standard's always kind of like increasing too. So, this past year, I think last year we started it, been really cool in making a 10-year system. So now it's not just 80 and you get your certification, you're ready to move on. It's 80 and you get your certification, but you need a 90 and above to move on. So I'm expecting more out of people, right? What we're doing now with the drill dojo in particular is we're redoing the videos again, right? So this is kind of like I've gotten even better, right? So I'm making them a little bit better, but the drill dojo created a new problem. Can you guess what it is? So if everyone is using the same training material in the same ways to do the same tricks and get the same certifications,
there's no new tricks.
There's no new tricks. What are people going to look like? What's style going to be like?
So it's all going to be very homogeneous. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jeups.
I'm the Mario of like all this stuff, right? I'm the I gave away all of my style, and now like that's just the default style, right? So what I've been working on to fix that is, all right, here's the trick. Here's what I'm looking for in the dojo curriculum. Here's how it's helped me, and I know where it's going to go. But like, here's a new video called a style guide. Here are some ideas for you to play with, like really develop your own style into this. And so that's kind of the most recent. I think I can't foresee a problem beyond that, right? So I think that's going to be where like that cuts off and all the problems are solved, and it's a happy, peaceful, utopic drill world forever.
I don't think so. I think there's going to be more to this, but hey, we'll tackle it as it comes around.
Yeah.
And then also maroon slings, after maroon sling, all the slings are free.
Yeah.
Unless you're certified.
Yeah, maroon and above, you get sort of the free certified. You get the one free.
The one freebie.
Yeah, and if you get black sling, you get refreshed every Daytona. So if you want to go out and do your Daytona black sling, like routine with the black sling, you'll get a free fresh one out in Daytona every single year for the rest of your life, as long as you're competing.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's super cool.
So so right now you're in the process of perfecting it, but you feel that it's a pretty well-oiled machine at this point.
Yeah, I think the successes kind of speak for themselves in terms of like how fast people are going through it, how much the skill ceiling is like risen. Yeah, I think it's really reached a nice point.
And this also helps a lot of the instructors from a mentality, and we'll go over the Glendale side of the fence in a bit.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting because it does bring that building block safety mechanism behind it, where an instructor can, even if they don't know how to drill, they can give it to a very enthusiastic group of cadets and say, hey, take a look at this. You can get certified to a certain level, and then they can also be a guide as to if somebody who is using a white sling is trying to throw a triple, they can say, hey, stop, because probably you're not there yet. You need to stop. You're at this white level. So it's an easy guide of reference, even if you do not understand that much about it, to try to rail in some of those hot chargers while also encouraging them to continue going.
Yeah, I think a lot of instructors have experience with regulation drill. They've been through boot camp, they've
Yeah.
walked around, they've done 1,000 parades. But this is maybe when they joined JRTC as an instructor, maybe their first time ever seeing exhibition drill. And we've run the poll. I mean, exhibition drill is such a phenomenal tool for military recruitment and engagement in your JRTC. But like, what's an instructor to do if they don't know what they're even looking at, right? And so this allows, I think my favorite stories are instructors who get certified.
Yeah,
It's
I agree.
approachable for them as well, right? Um, I have one former instructor who has left JRTC but still like does the drill dojo, and they're trying to certify a green sling level right now. So they've submitted twice. Both times they haven't made it. They're not deterred at all. They can do every trick. They just need to clean it up, right?
Hey, to your point at the very beginning, just continuous process to get to where you need to be.
Yeah.
And that's the trick.
Yeah, nothing is hard. It's just how much time do you need to put into it before it's complete? That's it.
That's amazing. And then how do you get new tricks? Have you received like new trick components for the library? Or like if somebody is doing a random crazy trick, how can they say, hey, Adam, I want to put this in the library?
So I used to take trick requests. And hey, did you invent something? But a couple of problems came of it where there's sometimes new tricks, sometimes just variants of tricks, right? That line is almost defined by how it proliferates through the community, not by how different it is, right? So to give you an example, if I throw a side toss and I catch it behind my back at like waist level, or if I throw a side toss and catch it behind my head, right? That's both a variant of a behind the body stop, right? But if they're treated differently in the community, then they take on an importance that denotes requiring being called a new trick, right? And so kind of philosophically, it's really challenged. It's kind of like the same idea of like words don't exist; they're all just symbols for stuff, and we all kind of pretend that they get close to the idea.
Mhm.
But like, and when you think of drill in that same way, like tricks don't exist. We just spin the rifle and it does stuff, and like the categories, the names of the tricks get us close to an idea of what it is, right? And so, I had to disincentivize anyone like making new tricks, right? And then the second problem was always like people would have new tricks. I would ask them to go make a clean film of it, and filmography is a skill in its own
It
right,
is.
right? So it requires a tripod and a good camera and slow motion or whatever. And like, if I said, "Hey, go in your backyard, set your camera to 1080p, get a 120 or 240 FPS, get a clean shot, dress nice for it," right? These are all things that like I'll do to go film a trick because it's going to be on this like professional stage. But a lot of people are like, oh, I don't have a tripod. And what does it mean dress nice? And all I have is a
Sure.
backyard. And, so I wasn't able to get like a lot of clean videos of it. Um, but I'm hoping at like events like the Drill Dojo Invitational, I can set up like a very professional spot and just do it with my equipment, right? And that way, all they have to do, so we'll have like shirts for it and everything. So all they'll have to do is go and do it.
That'll be amazing. And we are in the process of figuring out when that Drill Dojo Invitational will take place.
Yeah, we're very close. I just need to release the schedule so I can book that event, and then SOP is going to get launched, and we're good to go.
It's going to be amazing. All right, so now let's walk. So we are 2021, 2022, give or take. And then the acquisition happened on January 1st of 2024.
Yes.
So, okay, so At what point did you say, I think it's time to like figure out a way to either partner or like what was going through your mind?
Um, so it was ballooning to a point of getting a lot of attention, right? Now I didn't have just like certified slings, but I had colored slings of all different colors, and then I had the color guard slings. And that the Marine Corps took an interest in that.
Hmm.
And during all this time, in 2021 to 2022, is that right? Yes. I was in my master's program at USF, building a company on the side. In 2022 to 2023, I was a social studies teacher, trying to stay afloat, keeping the company like going, right? In 2023, in May of 2023, I left teaching and I moved to Orlando. Um, I left teaching simply because I wanted to move to Orlando and to like focus on
Where
like,
were you before?
oh, Tampa.
Got it.
Tampa, yes. So I wanted to focus on closing a couple of gaps because I loved teaching, and I was like, but it's a full life job,
Yeah.
right? It's not even full time; it's full life, right? I was like, I need to consolidate a couple things in my life. So I went to Full Sail University with my GI Bill, and I got a certificate in creative writing because I like writing. That's one of my
Mhm.
hobbies as well. And while being involved in that program, which I don't know if you know anything about Full Sail, but they're an accelerated,
Got it.
so they'll give you a bachelor's in like 18 months, but you're doing all the work in that 18 months. So during that time, it was like literally the same month I started that the Marine Corps contract worked itself out. And so the Marine Corps contract was for like 6,000 slings.
Yeah.
These are not something I just order from somewhere else and they're
This is
in.
you sewing.
I was in, it's me in a room with one single sewing machine, sewing by hand, doing all the measurements, literally starting with the raw material, like the straight up, the webbing, and then the clip, and then the Velcro, and then the sewing. 6,000 slings.
Which we still do here for certain slings.
Yeah. So, I still make, it's not that I love making them, but it was so cool seeing them in the community and being like,
Yeah.
every single one went through my hands.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so some of the special colors that I make for Glendale are like a labor of love for sure.
Yeah, they are because you're still so old.
Yeah. And that was definitely the time where it was like, I can't do this alone anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not if I'm going to return to teaching, not if I'm going to kind of, sitting at a sewing machine is not drill. It's in service of drill, and I love being in service of drill, but like I love drill, I love like being active and moving around, and getting me to sit still for too long is kind of a problem, you know what I mean? So sitting at a sewing machine for 13-hour days every day while I get this contract through was like, that ain't it. So
That is tough.
where do I get suppliers? Where do I find trusted people? Where do I get, help? Whenever I go to a drill competition and I need to take a break, and who do I trust? And all these different things that are like, well, when you show up and you say, hey, I can solve all these problems. And, that was such an easy, like, yeah, absolutely. This is exactly the answer I was looking for. Right. And so, yeah, during the time of the Marine Corps contract, you started working, like you bought Glendale Parade
I
Store,
put Glenn
and you were working with Joe, and kind of you're kind of looking a little bit for like just acquisition opportunities, but also like kind of the same thing Joe was looking for, as far as I understand it. This is like,
Yeah.
this is a new space for you, right?
So I'll tell you my beginning story. So I essentially had no JROTC experience whatsoever. Nothing. I actually went to school in Colombia. So despite the fact of having been born in the United States, I never lived in the United States until I was 18.
Wow.
That I returned to the US, to Miami. And my goal was to study. I had an acceptance letter from the University of Miami to study general management, out of all things. And so I said, you know what? Perfect. Let me get going. Let me study. I just didn't know how I was going to pay for it. So I got in. I got here to what? To was it? Is it still? So I got it here to the United States. I remember that was 2007, and I went to a financial aid office. The University of Miami is extremely expensive, and I said, "Hi, I'm here to study." And they said, "Great, where's your money?"
Yeah.
So I said, "Hey, I don't have money." So they told me, "Hey, you have three options. Either you can understand that you're not going to come here and that's it. Two, you can try to get a loan, which back then, 2007 financial crisis,
Yeah.
real complicated. Or number three, you find alternative ways. I'm like, what is an alternative way to raise $30,000
Yeah.
just to pay for tuition? And that's when they put literally a piece of paper that said, join the United States Air Force Reserve. And I said, you know what? Why not? They'll pay you a bonus. Back then it was 20,000 as a vehicle operator. And
Okay.
I enlisted and I signed. And I promise this will all make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I signed for it. I joined the military. I came here to Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. My English was not very good. So I used to mumble quite a bit. I couldn't say, sir, trainee Barreto reports as ordered to save my life. But I had really good mentors in the military, and they placed me in a position of leadership. So when I was at boot camp, they placed me as an element leader. And that really helped me just get my English going. Plus, it also made me really get to where I needed to be. So fast forward, I studied finance, mathematics, and it's something called management science, is similar to industrial engineering. And I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I just knew I had enlisted for 6 years, and that was it. I was not going to do anything else in the military. No families, military background, nothing. Um, Once I graduated, I actually decided to stay in the military because I went to Haiti in 2010. So in 2010, the earthquake hit in Port-au-Prince. There were 400,000 people dead, and we were one of the first ones to go help. So similar to you, it really linked up to that sense of belonging. And I fell in love with what the military has to offer, the traditions that were very far fetched for me. I had no idea about anything, but I learned the guide on and marching and all of these things being an enlisted member in the military. I went to work at a Citibank in New York City, and I worked there for 6.5 years. Had the opportunity to deploy twice as an enlisted member, as a technical sergeant. And at that point, I said, this is too much. I can not continue doing banking while staying in the military.
Yeah.
And actually, a good boss at my bank told me, hey, you need to figure out what you want to do. You either pick the military or you pick banking, but you
Right.
cannot,
Yeah. Can't stretch yourself that thin.
and we cannot promote you. That's the biggest thing. We're not going to give you an account worth quite a bit of money for you to manage when you're going to leave to go to Afghanistan for 7 months
Yeah.
and then come back. So it's not going to happen. And I deployed twice during that time frame of 6.5 years. I met my wife in New York, and I said, you know what? Let me commission. So I actually commissioned out of that, thanks to the guidance of one of my best mentors. His name was Senior Master Sergeant Kiger. And when I made that decision, I said, okay, I need to find something else. And then the military tagged me again immediately after I commissioned. I was mobilized for the third time to go to Iraq as an air advisor. Um, well, I was there. I said, military is something that I enjoy. I thoroughly like the service. I like the people. I like the mission. I like everything we do. And I want to continue. However, my life spans out, I love finance and I love business and I love the military. If I can find something that can combine both of them, I'll be extremely happy. And I became a logistics readiness officer. So if it's even in logistics, you'll be even better. So
Yeah.
logistics, military, money. And so I didn't know what I was going to do. I applied for my MBA, was lucky enough to get admitted into Harvard. So I went to Harvard, did my in residence MBA last 2 years. And then at Harvard, there's something called entrepreneurship through acquisition. So the idea is that rather than beginning a business from the ground up, where the success rate of a new startup will be 10%,
Yeah.
give or take, with entrepreneurship through acquisition, statistically speaking, the success rate is close to 66% because you're buying a business that is already functioning, that is generating cash flow, that has a history behind it, that has good bones,
Yeah.
and then you can hopefully you want to buy a business from somebody who wants to retire that has not invested that much into the business, that doesn't have the vision of maybe marketing or sales, that doesn't have a sales force.
Yeah. Okay.
And that is the idea. You try to grab it and run with it. And so, in order to do this type of acquisition, you will raise money. It's called a search fund, if anybody is interested. So it's a very financial term. More than happy to open a conversation about this and maybe have a podcast about it
Yeah.
down the road. But it's a very cool way where you raise money at the very beginning to help you look for a business. So you
Okay.
can pay yourself a salary and everything will be good. So while I was at Harvard from 2018 to 2020, COVID hit, of course.
Yep.
But my idea was to begin my search in 2020. So I just returned from Afghanistan in 2018, from Iraq in 2018 as an air advisor. And I said, okay, perfect. I'll start my search. And luckily for me, the military tagged me again. They said, hey, man, 2021, you're getting deployed to Kuwait. And so that was the Afghanistan retrograde. And so I couldn't raise money to go search, to pause again, to go to the military and then come back.
Yeah.
It's not feasible.
Right.
So I was between a rock and a hard place, and I had to make a decision. So I took a job that will allow me to learn how it is to manage people in a civilian context. I feel very comfortable managing people in a military context, but you know what's the cool thing about, or the weird thing about managing people in the military versus managing people on the civilian side?
Got to keep the civilians a lot happier.
Yeah, military members cannot quit.
Yeah.
Like, they will work,
Yeah.
or they will not work. They'll silently quit, but they'll be there.
Yeah. The motivation levels are going to be different on each side.
Very different, very, very complex. Also in the military, yeah, we have a budget, sure. My ADOS money and my O&M money and all the type of stuff, but nobody's looking at my margins. Like,
Yeah.
what is your margin of efficiency? What is your, and I learned all this while I was working banking, while I was on my MBA, but I never actually practiced fulfilling a mission while looking at a bottom line and keeping people happy.
Yeah.
So I decided to do the weirdest thing I've ever done, and I jumped into managing dialysis centers in Boston during the pandemic.
Okay.
Adam, it was brutal, man.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't sound like you know, you don't ask a child like, "Hey, what do you want to be when they grow up?" and they're like, "Hey, I want to manage dialysis centers in Boston."
Yeah, and for a very good reason. It is brutal. The margins are razor thin. Maintaining people happy while everybody's in lockdown, and so dialysis. I don't know if you know that much about it, but essentially, it's the last line of resort, and if people don't have it, they'll die.
Yeah.
So your kidneys are pretty much not functioning, and so you need to die. You need to go to hemodialysis in order to get rid of all of the fluids in your body because you cannot pee. So if you skip dialysis for 4 days, you will die a very painful and terrible death.
Yeah, that sounds exceptional during a pandemic.
I know. And so imagine in Boston doing that, man, it was brutal. I learned through fire what it was to manage a civilian team,
Uh-huh.
keep them motivated while keeping razor thin margins,
Yeah.
still alive, trying to pay people additional money just to incentivize them to come. It was brutal.
And the stakes are literally life and death.
It was nuts. And then so I said, okay, good. It was the first time that I was like, woo, I'm deployed. This is great. So I went as the
Finally, a break.
or thank God. So I went I was a captain at the time, and I went as the director of operations to Ali Al Salim, which is the busiest airport or the busiest port in an entire theater. And to my surprise, it was the Afghanistan retrograde. So all of that stuff in the news of the planes with 600 people on them,
Yeah.
yeah, those were
Yeah.
coming to either me at Ali or to the deed in Qatar. So as the director of operations, also a big trial by fire of doing that. And then finally, when I returned, my idea, finally I raised the funds. began my search in Tampa. So love Tampa, love Florida. And my idea was I told my wife, I want to find a business that deals with military because I love the traditions and I love everything that it stands for, the logistical aspect to it, and that I can grow it, that I can put something, but we keep the essence alive. And I was very lucky to come across Glendale Parade Store and Joe. And so Joe was in that period of time that he wanted to retire.
He sure did.
Yeah, so it was almost done. He was ready to go. And the transaction took place in June of 2023. There's a lot of stuff that went into that process.
Yeah.
At first, I saw the company and I ended up killing it, and then we rehatched again, and it was a very nice thing. I've been 3 times to San Antonio. Was for basic training.
Mm-hmm.
They yelled at me and they screamed at me, and it was really miserable.
Yeah.
The second time was for sheer training
Okay.
before I went to Iraq, and they screamed at me, and they hit me this time, and they screamed at me. So this one was more brutal.
Yeah.
So the third time was the charm.
Okay.
So far nobody has hit me or screamed at me. So far so good. And so when I acquired Glendale in June of 2023, I was looking at what avenues could we grow Glendale. And so Joe had done a phenomenal job by moving the company from
Mm-hmm.
New Jersey to Texas.
Yes.
Smartest move you could ever make.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with New Jersey, but if you look at it from a logistical point of view, and
Yeah.
you're shipping to California or to Alaska or to Hawaii, the time span and the cost from New Jersey to the other side of the United States is really expensive.
Yeah. Well, I can name a half dozen powerhouse schools in Texas alone.
Correct.
Jersey. Oh,
Yeah. And so moving it to Texis, one, took place of the epicenter of drip,
mm-hmm.
but then two, it also allowed for a very good logistical hub.
Yeah.
It's almost smack in the middle.
Yeah.
It was a very good opportunity. And so that really allowed us to have that fulfillment. And that's when you came in. So as I was talking to Joe of, okay, I get it. We have the DA 1903. It's in its iteration, I think, L by the time, or some random iteration. I think we were almost there. How else can we grow it? And so Joe mentioned that, hey, Adam Jeup knows a lot about drill. Plus, I didn't know anything about drill. I remember going to Daytona, and I'm like, okay, by that time, I had 17 years in the military or 16 years in the military. Like, I have this. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Way over my head.
Right. The same story as like many instructors who go to JRTC and suddenly find out what competitive drill is. Yeah.
It's like, what is this? Oh, the colors, and oh, we're gonna do exhibition drill, and I had no idea. I couldn't tell Arda 1903 versus an M1000.
Right. Why would you
know it? No idea. Like, how would I ever know?
Right.
Or seeing all the spins, I only thought, okay, that's what the silent drill does, like silent Marine Corps drill, and that's about it. Huh?
And then you step into an arena, and all of a sudden, unarmed exhibition is going. And correct. What is that? Yeah.
And the circuit too, like going through all of them, and then you have within the independent drill, you have all the different teams.
Yeah.
The legacy around it.
So and the politics, every community's got politics.
It's interesting, which is what we're gonna really dive into as we start doing this podcast, to try to understand where we live and how is our community structured, how are we moving forward. But I just learned a ton, but I found it fascinating, and I really enjoyed what we were doing, especially helping out the younger kids.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that the community that we serve is essentially the same thing why I fell in love with the military. So it was just an actual fit. And then when you came along, I'm like, this is a perfect synergistic opportunity, because what you need help with is something that Glendale does very well. We have over 20,000 SKUs. They serve as honor guards, color guards, military, fire, police, Sea Cadets, Civil Air Patrol, you name it. We have, I don't know how many gloves. You're going to come up with the glove story. So,
yeah, you've got a lot of gloves.
gloves,
check the videos on that one. I did a review of all of them this week. So
shoulder cords, rifles. It's a quite a bit.
yeah,
So I needed somebody in the industry or wherever you talk about finance industry is called a river guide. So a river guide will be somebody that guides you
yeah,
through a river. Let's say
for
there's an
sure.
alligator, there's a rock.
Uh-huh.
And so you have been a phenomenal river guide to helping me guide myself through. I remember I got White's Link certified.
Yeah,
So,
congratulations on that.
hey, thanks. And so the more I learned, I think the better it is. And thanks to your input, we've also modified the new DA 1903
Yeah,
with an improved center of balance and with an improved texture and improvements on the front side, the barrel. So like this has been really productive, and I'm really looking forward to how Drill Dojo continues to expand that
yeah.
safety aspect.
No, it's gonna be really exciting. We're hatching some really cool stuff.
I agree.
I want to step back a little bit. So you mentioned Harvard, right? I feel like your exact words were like, I got lucky and got into Harvard. But what kind of prep did you do to get into Harvard Business School in the first place?
So to get into Harvard Business School, great question. It's luck, but at the same time, it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah,
So you need to make sure, and I can talk quite a bit about how to do this. There's multiple programs, especially for vets. Um, I joined one that was called MLT, Management Leaders for Tomorrow. And what they'll help you is they'll help you understand quite a bit of stuff to go to your MBA or to your graduate school. Applying to a graduate school is complicated. So
yeah,
you first need to get the right scores. You need to develop an arc and a story. You need to understand what school you're going to. You need to understand the yields. So very similar to your concept of like drill, you take it one bite at a time. Applying to Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, like all of these big schools takes quite a bit of a process, and I had great mentors to guide me through. Big plug for Management Leaders of Tomorrow, very good program. I was lucky enough that they took me in and they helped me out throughout that process. It took probably a year and a half, 2 years of
Oh
getting
wow.
everything ready.
Yeah, that's a really long process for
And I do say that I'm lucky because you have amazing talent that applies. And so I think when I got in, it was my dream school, and I was like very thrilled. And I remember receiving the news immediately after coming back from Iraq. So it was a
Oh
very
yeah, that's
pleasant
real
surprise.
exciting. Yeah.
And my wife also applied. So whatever they taught me. So another good tip, if anybody's interested, and we can do a podcast maybe about this down the road,
Yeah.
is if you have a significant other and that significant other is so interested in doing a master's program, if one of you gets like into a or learns how to do it, just teach the other,
Oh yeah.
because it's like and
Yeah.
both of you knock it at the same time. It's beautiful.
That's really cool.
So my wife, big props to her. She actually went to MIT.
Oh, okay, excellent. Yeah. That's very awesome.
So it was good, and so far we've loved living in San Antonio. What I also love about Glendale is that out of all of our employees, which are 21, I we have, I should know this out of the top of my head, 7 veterans.
Okay.
So 7 are veterans.
Yeah.
3 are disabled vets. We have 3 members who have connections to military because either their husband is military or was military. And then we have quite a bit. I think it's like another 7 or 6 that are prior to ROTC. So
Yeah.
it's a really good mix of our representation of all of our client bases. We just need somebody who's a policeman or a fire
Yeah.
to
So true. There.
so it's been so good so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you're doing the company search, like, I know you were like initially tabled Glendale, came back to Glendale, but like, um, how do you find these opportunities in the first place? Like, you can't just Google like, is Glendale Parade Store for sale, right? So like, what's the process like in like finding a company that might be for sales?
It is brutal. So it's called a search. And the search is if you like pilgrimage, it's like a pilgrimage. It begins happily, and then after you're in it for a month and a half, you're like,
Yeah.
"What am I doing and why am I here?" Um, Essentially, how it works is you email or you call a bunch of CEOs. So I was calling and emailing
Like a
400.
door-to-door salesman, but like you're trying to buy stuff.
You're buying their company. So
Yeah.
what they have built from the ground up, you're just getting their phone number or their email and just randomly picking up and saying, "Hey, is your company for sale? And this is why you should pick me."
Wow.
It is brutal.
Yeah.
It is There's a
Sounds
lot of tactics around it, and I think we should definitely do a podcast about this
okay. Yeah.
and also explain like, okay, what is a good business? What is just basics? What is it? But again, we're not financial advisors. We can just talk
Just
about it,
other stories.
understands it.
Just our stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is a phenomenal thing. And I was getting really burned by the time that I found Joe. So it worked out. The first time that we turned it off was because one thing that is really important on any business is to understand retention of clients.
Yeah.
So how many clients are coming back? You don't want a leaky bucket.
Right. Yeah.
You don't want something that you're putting a bunch of cells into it to just have all of them leaving. That's called churn.
Yes.
So you don't want a big churn on a client base. Well, if you look at how many police departments are there in the United States, I don't know. And I sell to them. There's
All right. Yeah.
thousands and thousands and thousands.
Name a city that
Yeah,
got a police department,
yeah,
right?
or two.
Yeah.
So it's wild. How many firefighter units are there? And sometimes it's the ladder of each of each firefighters. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like Los Angeles fire. It could be ladder something.
Right. Yeah.
And so you're selling to them. How many veteran posts are there? There's thousands and thousands and thousands. Military bases. In the Air Force, who buys from us can be the Honor Guard. It could be the FSS. It could be security forces. And so when you try to compile who is our reoccurring client, it's a beast of an effort.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to buy a company, you have 90 days to figure it out. That's it.
Interesting.
So 90 days to make one of the biggest decisions of your life and understand if what they're selling is correct. Now, props to Joe. Everything he sent is true.
Yeah.
Sometimes you
No.
do
Yeah.
not
Joe
get
was
the right thing.
good person. I can imagine some CEOs are not honest about
Oh,
things, right?
Once we do a
Yep.
podcast about this, I'll tell you crazy stories.
Yeah, I
Like
bet.
crazy stories.
Just the most cooked books, huh?
But now but I think that this is a great example. And so far, since we partnered, I think that our goal has been always to keep both brands together with the synergy, but independent.
Yeah. No, I think it's been really, really awesome since the Glendale acquisition because they answered so many like things that were happening with the dojo that was just like, all right, like it's a lot, right? Yeah, it's complementary things, I think it's been so awesome to be able to contribute as well with Glendale side of things where people are like, hey, where's how do I learn tricks now? And it's like, well, we got this program here, right? So yeah, the Drill Dojo and Glendale just kind of make sense together. I think it's I can't think of like any other kind of sport that has like a learning component mixed with like where do you get your stuff, right? And like those two things just go together. Like how do I grow with your stuff? Right? That's such an important piece of information to what Winter Guard out there with the band or what band out there selling the trombone along with here's free lessons on trombone.
I know.
Right? It just doesn't happen.
And it's all free. So
Yeah.
our commitment is to keep Drill Dojo free.
Yeah.
And try to help out as much as we can.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's key. But I think let's take it off for the next episode. So if you guys have good ideas of what we can talk about,
yeah, drop it in the comments.
Let us know.
Let us know. We're happy if anything popped up and you're just like, hey, we kind of glossed over that one thing.
Yeah.
Bring it up. We'll figure it out. We'll talk about it. We're gonna bring some guests on this show.
It's called the all hands.
Yeah, we're gonna get everyone involved.
And the idea is for us to try to do one of these every month, give or take.
I would say month, give or take.
And we'll see how it goes.
All right.
Awesome.
If you've made it this far, first of all, thank you so much. We're happy you're having a great drive or just chilling at home. Thank you so much for being with us for the inaugural episode. Really appreciate it. Got anything to say?
No, I think it'll be pretty cool.
All right, we're gonna
Thank
catch
you.
you guys on the next episode. Happy drilling out there.